Making headlines tonight, a new food and nutrition policy for schools rolled out. The Barbados Light and Power defends the year it selected it to show why it needs a rate increase. D-Day coming soon on what will replace Nelson statue in Hero Square. And coming up in sports, Hetmyer dropped from the T20 World Cup squad.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. It's official. The Ministry of Education has started to roll out its new food nutrition policy for schools. The announcement came today during a service at the Mount of Praise Wesleyan Holiness Church to signal the launch of Education Month. Shane Seeley has that story.
We now have in Barbados a new national school nutrition policy.
Education Minister Kay McConney today giving details of the new national nutrition policy for schools, which aims to address serious concerns regarding the health of students.
It is now in the very early stages of implementation by the Ministry of Health and Wellness in collaboration with our Ministry of Education, and it speaks to the serious commitment that we have to ensure that our students at nursery, primary, secondary, and tertiary are able to have affordable access to nutritious and tasty meals which can positively influence the quality of lives and of learning.
Giving some startling figures, the Education Minister told the gathering CNCDs, chronic non-communicable diseases, account for more than 83% of deaths here in Barbados, conditions which are directly linked to unhealthy lifestyles. And with that, there's more data. Approximately 30% of students between the ages of 13 and 15 here on the island are now categorized as overweight or obese. That's why Minister McConney is also appealing to school canteens, concessionaires and vendors to work with the ministry to create healthier menus and provide more nutritious food.
We know that the canteens in the high schools, in the secondary schools, that they have a menu that they want to make sure that they're able to sell what they produce to the children. But I want every single one of you in here to be strict guardians of your health and firm craftsmen of the wellness environment in your schools.
Under the new policy, there are also plans to create an environment at schools promoting more physical activity.
You will notice and you will see that the ministry over the next year and more will be seeking to clear some of your spaces so that there's more physical activity. You're going to start seeing tennis courts, road tennis courts put on your campuses. You're going to see us doing as much as we can to ensure that the environment for our children is an environment that is conducive to physical activity.
Now, the theme for Education Month is promoting quality education through healthy minds and bodies. And the Education Ministry is pushing for all stakeholders involved to step up to the plate, ensuring the youth can live healthier and more productive lives starting at school. Shane Seeley, CBC News.
Thanks, Shane. The Barbados Light and Power Company is defending selecting 2020 as the test year in which figures were used to demonstrate why it needs a rate increase. As the Fair Trading Commission's hearings entered day 9 at the Accra Beach Hotel, the power company's Director of Finance, Ricardo Jennings, responded to the criticism that 2020 was not an ideal year to use.
When you look at the forecast with the proposed rates included and you contrast that against the expenses, and especially given the explanation that I just gave about the increasing cost pressure that we have, I think it demonstrates, the forecast certainly shows that even with the proposed rates and with the forecasted sales that we have in here, the forecasted sales increase that we have in here, that the investor will not be able to achieve the proposed rate of return or a fair and reasonable rate of return.
Intervener Ricky Went asked if the BLPC's country risk is falling and it has an excellent track record, why then is the risk spread between the debt and equity higher in 2021 than in 2020? The power company's expert witness answered.
let me address that in two manners. One, the cost of debt that was raised in 20 and 21 was at very good rates that are beneficial to customers, and they were raised on the back of a lot of equity and on the backs of EMERA. The comparable rate for debt in the U.S. was well over 3% at the time. So, and why is the spread so large? Well, it's so large because all the risk that goes to Barbados investors goes to the equity investors. Remember, at all times, debt investors are paid off before there's anything left for equity investors. And at 65% equity, the debt investors are almost certain to get their money. Equity investors are not. And it's clear that the country of Barbados has faced significant troubles in the last, say, 10 years.
And from the rate hearing for an increase in the cost of electricity to a discussion on investment in renewable energy. There will be a series of investing in renewable energy community engagement meetings, which will allow householders to hear the benefits of renewable energy, among other things. To tell us more about it is Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Business, Sandra Husbands. Good evening, Minister Husbands.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I am good. I hope you're well. Tell us everything these meetings have, everything about them and their importance.
Well, the need to invest in renewable energy is truly important for our population. I'll explain why. One of the things that we're committed to as a government is seeking to provide opportunities for all citizens to be able to participate in areas where they can increase their income, where they can participate in the wealth or prosperity that may be happening in a particular sector. And of particular importance is the smart energy sector. One of the basic ways that the average citizen can benefit from it is by the installation of the photovoltaic cells on their roof, where they're able to contribute in three meaningful ways to the country. One, we're going to reduce our use of fossil fuel. That means we're going to save foreign exchange. Two, you will be generating electricity, which you will be paid for. And this is where householders will be able to save on their light bills. And depending on the size of their roof, they may even be able to earn additional dollars for their pocket, along with saving on that light bill. Now think about how important that is for a family that may be struggling at the moment. Think about a pensioner who may be on limited income, but they've paid for their house and they have a roof that can be dedicated to photovoltaic cells. In addition, one of the things that it will do is help others in our community who have trained to do installations. And therefore, a lot of young people will get a chance to get a job in this area, and we need many, many more to be trained in order to meet the high demand that we are going to have for photovoltaic cells. Now, the reason why we're doing these sessions is because many people understand the basic principle. They think it's a good principle, but some people feel this is not for me, or I have too much debt, or I don't want to start something like that now. And they have other ways of pre-disqualifying themselves simply because they don't have the detailed information about how exactly it works. For example, there are some citizens who don't know that there are some finance institutions that don't need a deposit. Many people don't know that. And at our sessions, what we're going to do, we're going to talk through what is the government policy, what are the benefits, what is involved in putting those photovoltaics on your roof, the strength of the roof, how much you can put on it, how much you will be able to earn from it. And then we will talk through the financing options that are currently available from the various finance institutions in the country,
Minister,
so that
let me
people
just jump
can
in here
make
quickly
an informed
because
decision.
Minister, we only have a minute left. But so would you say that Barbadians are having a hard time buying into the concept, or it's just a situation that they don't have all the information available to them because they
don't have
you're going
all the
straight across the
information.
country with this?
Yes, they don't have all the information, and that is part of the issue, and that is why we're going across the country. So we're going to be starting, for example, on Wednesday, we're going to be in Alexandra's Secondary School in St. Peter. That's the 5th of October. We're going to start at 6 and go to 8. And then we move to Checker Hall, Salvation Army. This is in St. Lucie. That's going to be on Sunday, the 9th of October. And then we'll be coming to Queen's College in St. James. That is going to be on Wednesday, the 12th. Again, from 6 to 8. And what this will allow us to do is to be able to provide people with the opportunity to ask their specific questions so that they can see renewable energy is for me.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you so much for speaking with Minister. I know you have the information going around, and people will be checking in to see where they can go to those meetings in the facility that's closest to them. Thank you so much for speaking with us this evening.
And thank you.
That was Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Business, Sandra Husbands. Coming up, Barbadians will soon hear what will replace the statue of Lord Nelson. A first for Barbados, the Caribbean and Latin America, as the island scores a major goal in the world of international diplomacy and labor relations. It's come with the appointment of Barbadian Ambassador Chad Blackman to the cabinet of the newly elected Director General of the International Labour Organization, a key agency of the United Nations, Gilbert Wongo. Blackman, until last week, served as Barbados' ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations at Geneva, Vienna and Rome, and ambassador to Switzerland, Austria, Hungary and Serbia. Ambassador Blackman joins us live now from Geneva. Good evening, Ambassador. First of all, congratulations, and it's good to see you.
Good evening, Shane. Thank you very much.
Okay, so straight to it. What does this appointment mean for Barbados and also to you personally as someone under the age of 40?
Well, I think firstly, I have to say, to set the context of it, being in the cabinet of the Director General, not just in the ILO, but any international organization, really means that you're in the engine room of the organization, because that office, the DGO, as it's commonly called, sets the Director General's vision and works very closely within the organization and with member states. So within that context, it's very, very important because, one, it allows, therefore, for Barbados for the first time to also be in a position where we are influencing, not just from a member state perspective, but actually from an in-house scenario, driving the agenda, carrying out the Director General's vision. Now, given that my appointment is as his senior advisor, it therefore means a lot of what he is going to be doing, he will be taking counsel from myself. And therefore, I think for a country that is very, very small in geographic size, but clearly very big in heart, it really speaks to the testament of who we are as a people, as Barbadians. And it is very good, I think, also, when you look at it, that it comes within just 1 year of us being a republic. We continue to strive in different areas of endeavor. And this certainly must be a hallmark for Barbadians to continue to pursue anything that your mind can perceive. Now, with regards to me personally, certainly it is not lost on me the history of the moment, particularly coming from the bosom of Grantley Adams' party, Barbados Labour Party, as well as the fact that the role that he would have played in the labour movement in our country, in the region, to now come full circle, as I said, in the advent of being a republic, to being the senior advisor to the person in the UN system globally who is driving the labour movement, is a very historic one. And therefore, I think it's something that I will cherish, but equally, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah,
that is something that continues to happen.
We just have about a minute and a half left. What's your driving force at the global level? You keep continuing to get promotions.
Well, simply put, Shane, as I said, to whom much is given, much is expected. One of the things that certainly drove me when I was ambassador for our country is that there are ordinary Barbadians who will not necessarily have the access to these spaces, but equally you have to represent them. And that really motivates me. How do you ensure that people have a voice and their interests are articulated in circumstances when they are not being able to do so on their behalf? So I think it's something that we have to really permeate across our society. Representation at all levels is critical.
And what's one key area that you'll be working on in this new position?
Well, the Director General, he's looking to create a global coalition on social justice. There's no secret that in the world right now, there's a lot of turmoil in terms of conflict, wars, debt, climate change. And the ILO, in his vision, it must be at the center of that driving force. And therefore, he's going to be bringing lots of different international organizations and member states in trying to readjust and realign a new movement of what development will look like, but certainly from the lens of labor. So it's going to be a very interesting time over the next 3 to 4 years, seeing how that will play out as well.
Very quickly, we've been watching you all the time. It seems like you always have the ear of some of the African leaders, from Dr. Tedros to presidents and prime ministers. What's the connection, or what's your secret with African leaders?
Well, the truth is, you may not know, but I'm a deep Pan-Africanist, even if you can see the garb I'm wearing now. But in addition to that, when you look at the history between Barbados and Africa, and certainly the thrust that Prime Minister Motley would have been pushing, we have to ensure that we build those ties. And given that I've been able to build a number of strategic relationships over the last 4 years, as you said, with a number of African counterparts, and I think, therefore, once we can leverage that relationship, then not just Barbados, but the Caribbean can certainly benefit. And I believe that given those relationships that I've had, it would have also played into the current DG of the ILO making me a part of his cabinet as well.
Okay, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was Ambassador Chad Blackman, Senior Advisor to the Director General of the ILO. A decision should soon be made on what will replace the Lord Nelson statue in National Heroes Square. The update from Prime Minister and the Minister in the Prime Minister's Office with responsibility for culture, Senator Dr. Chantal Munro-Knight. She noted that after consultation with the public last year, it was determined a monument commemorating the family would replace the controversial statue. Dr. Munro-Knight said in May the division launched a competition for people to submit design proposals of what it should look like, and the final decision will be made by a committee.
The committee is headed by Steve Devonish. It is a multi-stakeholder committee, not only of government, including people from the artistic community, that are making the decision in relation to the design. So the process of that. The process is going to be completed within the week. All I'm waiting is for the committee to submit to me a report exactly on the process, because as a minister, because we wanted it to be transparent, I have not been involved in the selection or anything. Cabinet, nobody has been involved. It is this committee that has been receiving directly the submissions and would have reviewed them. I'm just waiting for them to give me a report now of the process, and then we will announce to the public, hopefully within this week, the top 3 designs and those persons that actually submitted, and they will be made public.
A documentary on the 1976 Cubana Airlines tragedy will premiere in Barbados this Friday. The documentary, called Cubana 455, takes a look at the events leading up to the bombing of the aircraft, which plunged into the sea off Paynes Bay, St. James, resulting in the deaths of 73 passengers and crew members. On today's edition of Morning Barbados, Ambassador to CARICOM, David Comachong, spoke about what led filmmaker Enrique Burman to produce the documentary.
I think one of the things that inspired him to do the documentary is that in 2016, when we were commemorating the 40th anniversary of the Cubana tragedy, we launched a campaign from Barbados to have the United Nations designate 6th of October the UN International Day Against Terrorism. So he heard about this. He actually came to Barbados. He interviewed persons like myself. And over the last few years, he has produced this brilliant documentary film, which will be premiered in Barbados on Friday of this week.
The 46th anniversary of the tragedy will be commemorated on Thursday with the rededication of the Cubana Monument at Paynes Bay, which was recently refurbished. What was a celebration marking the culmination of the first walk for the cure to hit the road since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic descended into panic for some patrons gathered at the National Botanical Gardens last night. CBC cameraman Chris Wood caught these scenes of people scampering for safety after a fight reportedly broke out in the crowd. Police quickly responded and apprehended the culprits. There's been no reports of injury. Sports time now. We head over to the sports studio and say good evening to Amory Berg. Amory, what's going on with Hetmyer, man?
Now, Pinelands A are into the finals of the Cooperators General Insurance BABA Club Challenge after winning last night's semi-final match against Barbados Lumber Company LSC. Playing at the Barbados Community College, Pinelands led at all quarters at 32-17, 58-42, 77-63 before closing out the win at 97-87. Devron Knight had a game-high 30 points for the winners. They'll meet Burger King Clapham Bulls A, who are winners of the other semi-final when they defeated Station Hill Cavaliers. Here's a look at that game. Now more than ever is where these teams had to lay it all on the line as victory means a place in the final. Cavaliers in the green and black had an all-hands-on-deck approach, while Bulls ensured their defense was White House style. And they get the steal. When they make it count, it's off the rim the first time, but corrected effectively. Basket. Cavaliers immediately on the counter-attack, passing it around to find Zachary Cave, who posts up for a big one, and he nails it. Raheem Gibbons then goes for it on the other end, pauses, then charges, and gets the basket. Bulls on display again and watch the teamwork like clockwork. Nothing but net. Cavaliers keeping the scoreline as tight as possible were truly fighting through, scoring at all costs. But Bulls, already having led the first quarter 18-8, just kept the pressure on. And the big threes were truly helping their cause. And their point man was Gibbons, pulling the trigger outside the arc, his biggest basket of the game, 3 of his game-high 18 points. Shining moments for the Cavs as well, holding off the defense and shoots his shot. But it was the Bulls who were in full business mode, more and more stamping their authority. Gibbons being relentless at the arc, banking it time and time again to lead his Bulls team into the final with a 97-87 win. And that Bulls Pinelands final is set for 7 p.m. on Saturday at BCC. The action in the BFA Women's Super League continued yesterday at 3 venues across the island. It was a massive 17-0 win for FVFC Femini over combined women at Holders Hill, as Cosette Brathwaite accounted for 6 of those goals and Shanika Rock had a hat-trick. At Rice's, it was a goalless scoreline between Pinelands women and Mavericks women, while at Briar Hall, UW Blackbirds defeated Technique 4-0. Also in winners' row was Kickstart Genesis over RF Prime. We took a look at that game. Friendship was the location for this encounter between Kickstart Women in the pink and RF Prime Women as the action continued in the BFA's Women's Super League. Kickstart dominated the first half to be up 2-0, and after a heavy shower of rain, we go right into the second. Asha Stevenson would do all the running down the left, staving off 3 defenders and bringing the keeper off the line to slot it in. She wasn't done yet. Stevenson again in possession, dancing through the defense and takes aim at the left corner, and it's good. Kickstart now with the 4-0 lead. And then this happened. The cross comes in, and watch as what I can only call tardy play. One player steps over it, and then the keeper literally taps it over the line. That's right, an own goal, and Kickstart gets another to the tally. And how about one more for good measure? A powerful clearance, and watch the speed on Crystalline Chandler, leaving the defenders and the keeper in shambles. And with a clear goal, turns and makes it look too easy. The final score, Kickstart Women 6, RF Prime Women 0.
Government is embarking on a program to attract and train extension officers. The revelation came from Minister of Agriculture, Food and Nutritional Security Indar Weir as he addressed the opening ceremony and technical session of the Capacity Building Production Workshop organized by his ministry along with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, the Caribbean Research and Development Institute, and United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. The minister told participants the initiative is to help enfranchise farmers as government seeks to reduce the country's food import bill by 25% by 2025.
I strongly believe that we are doing a lot more in agriculture apart from talking. We're taking action. And I want all of you to stay in touch and keep me informed with how the project is going. And honestly, I would really rely on you as well to keep me informed of what is happening with this project. And I want to use this opportunity to thank Ika, yourself, Ina, even though she's retired now, the Director General and the others for helping us with this project. And I want to thank you all also for making it a reality.
The launching of a new partnership, remote campaigns and in-person presentations will be at the core of the 10th anniversary celebrations of the Pan American International Insurance Corporation. General Manager for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Michael Lucas, told the Business Report the year-long celebration will start later this month and there is something in it for everyone. Time for the second half in sports. Now we head back on over to the sports studio and welcome back Anne-Marie.
I promise you some weightlifting news. So Barbados will be sending 2 athletes to the Weightlifting World Championships in Colombia, set for December 5th to 16th. Daniel Griffith and Quintana Clark will be accompanied by President of the Barbados Weightlifting Federation and National Coach Andrew Callender on the trip to Bogota. They are in full training mode and coming off of an almost 2-year layoff due to the COVID pandemic restrictions. Callender said they have been fighting against all odds.
But to be quite honest, it's been difficult for all of us, yes, because you started back, then you were stopped short again, and started back and stopped short. So it's been in and out all the time. But I think within the last 5 months or so, we've had a steady spell, and it's going good. I mean, to be 18 months out of training, roughly, isn't easy. Yeah, and trying to stay focused and whatnot. Some of the guys, they fell short. You know, some vaccinations and whatnot, and we are not in a position to demand anything from anyone, so you worry what you have.
Only last week, representatives from the International Weightlifting Federation met with the Colombian Weightlifting Federation to discuss preparations for the upcoming and potentially record-breaking World Championships. Given the registration to date, it is set to involve more athletes than ever before. The previous record was set at the 1999 edition in Athens, Greece, which saw 626 competitors taking part. Meanwhile, there is a major push to develop the sport of weightlifting in the region, with Barbados earmarked as the Caribbean hub for the sport. This from President of the Barbados Weightlifting Federation, Andrew Callender, who also serves on the boards of the Commonwealth and Pan American Weightlifting Federations. Callender, who recently went to Jamaica along with Pan Am Weightlifting President Jose Quinones in a bid to get the sport revived on that island, met with some major stakeholders and said there is much to be gained from strengthening the sport in the Caribbean. Jamaica is one of 6 islands identified in the development program.
The 6 countries are St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, and Barbados. All right? They all receive equipment. There is more technical assistance to come for all of them. But we would first do a tour of the islands to see what they need and such like. And I believe that within the next 2 weeks or so, that we will have a package put together again for their development.
That's our news. Good night and be good. Thanks for visiting us. To get more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.